What's going on, guys? It's Char here, back with another Halloween tier list. I guess this is a series now. All jokes out of the way, a couple disclaimers. A lot of the more kind of joke videos I put on the channel, I wasn't really planning an upload this week, but I forgot Halloween is today when this video goes up. So happy Halloween to those who celebrate. But a bit of a disclaimer, a lot of the joke videos that go up on this channel seem to get disliked for some reason. So this is my warning to you guys. This is a joke video. There's going to be like really no analysis almost at all in this video. We did this last year for, it was like the Halloween spirit tier list where I rated the spirit of all the Marvel champion heroes, whether I thought their like costume was good, if they'd be really into trick-or-treating and slash or giving out candy, how would they be at a Halloween party, all of this randomness that I made a tier list. I don't even remember what it looked like at this point, but if that's something that sounds funny to you, you can see basically when I moved into this place for the first time, the background was very empty. There wasn't like anything behind me, and now it's basically completely filled. So that'd be something cool if you want to check that out. But yes, disclaimer, this is not serious. There's no analysis, but if you have nothing better to do on this Halloween and you want to hear me talk about literally just whatever, I'm just going to be making up stuff to rate these guys, feel free to tap in. So today what we're doing, and I had to think through the criteria right now, I think we're just doing a Halloween tier list. We're doing the villain version of it, but it's not going to be like Halloween spirit. That stuff is like too nebulous, and I know even less about these villains than I do about the heroes, so I can't even make these sweeping judgments or assumptions. I'm just going to rate if these guys were in a costume contest at a Halloween party or something like that, would they win? Like where would they place? So we have the same tiers as last time. Again, this is technically a series now. This is the second Halloween tier list I've done. So we have S tier or spooky, A for the afterlife, B for boogeyman, so you know it's middle of the pack, C for cemetery, they're not doing too hot, and D for death. Let's just get this started. I have no idea. This is just like it was last time. I have no idea where these villains are going to end up, but let's just start rating them. So I start with Rhino. So I think Rhino is pretty fun. It's kind of like a novelty kind of costume. You're just this big Rhino guy. I don't know. I feel like if you're in a Halloween costume, this is like pretty. I'd say this is probably an A tier. It's probably not the best costume on this list, but it's like well made. It's well put together. I mean, depending if it's just spandex or not, or has like plating or whatnot. I mean, that's fine. Then we got Claw. Claw's interesting. His design in a Halloween sense. I mean, he's got like this giant mechanical arm that's like the centerpiece of the design, but the rest of the design around it is just kind of, it's like whatever. I don't know if I do a B or C tier. Let's just throw it in B tier. Again, this is assuming that we're not dressing up as the pop culture villain Claw or the pop culture villain Rhino. It's just like if you showed up to a costume contest with this, at a Halloween party with this outfit, how would you be rated? Ultron. So this one I could see being pretty slick. It's a robot design. It's got the nice orange accents. I could definitely see this one, maybe being above Rhino. I think it's a pretty solid costume. Now we got Norman Osborn. This got to be like death. This is not a costume. I mean, it's like he's just in a suit. I know Green Goblin is on the other side, but Green Goblin has his own scenario, so we're just gonna rate that himself. Green Goblin. So this one is Goblin is like a pretty standard, I'd say like fantasy creature. I could see this. I could see people like this. You got like the pumpkin theming going around with the bombs. I could actually see this. This is maybe like a classic costume. It kind of moved up the more I thought about it. This seems very Halloween to me. You've got like, the really scary iconography, like a goblin, a ghoul, or something like that. You've got the pumpkin bombs. Everything kind of ties this together. This is like a quintessential, Halloween costume. Very, very good. Next, we got Crossbones. This is gonna be kind of like Punisher energy, even though wouldn't be a criteria in this. It's a cool looking costume. It's kind of like militaristic. I'd say this kind of counts. I mean, this is kind of a costume, right? Maybe it's above Ultron, maybe it's below Ultron, but I'd say this one is like, it's got like more focal points than the Claw design, in my opinion. Now we're going to Absorbing Man, and I don't know. It's just some guy without a shirt on. He does have the big like freaking ball and chain, which is a pretty cool design element, focal point for like a Halloween costume. So I won't say it's the worst, but maybe it's like Claw tier. Honestly, I could see Claw dropping and swapping this. I feel like this is more of a bigger focal point and selling point than Claw's is. Claw's is just the big like Sonic converter or whatever. That's just kind of nothing. I think Taskmaster has to go up here. This is like a quintessential looking Halloween costume. It's kind of like Scream reminiscent. You got like the big skull mask, the giant cloak. He's even got like Halloween-ish colors. He got a lot of orange and the white. He's got shield. He's got like really cool accessories. I think that's a pretty good Halloween costume. Then we've got Zola. This one's interesting. I think Zola's probably a less cool version of Ultron. I mean, the idea is like interesting, where like maybe you would like a black out your mask, and then the only thing would be on your body, and you'd have this face, and maybe you could go crazy with it, put like a a TV screen or something that actually changes there. Depending on the execution, I could see it maybe being an A tier, but I think for now, I think B tier is probably fine for Zola. We move on to Red Skull. This one is just kind of, it's just like, kind of alright. Like if you think of this without the context of him being a pretty iconic villain in the Marvel franchise, he's just kind of a guy in a trench coat. He's got this Luger, he's got his knife, and you got red face paint. Like that's pretty interesting. It's probably more interesting than Claw, but I could see it maybe being B tier, but without any of like the what's it called? Without any of that kind of nuance of the pop culture of the character. I don't think it's that crazy. Wrecking Crew, Marvel Champion. I'm just making sure I can get all of them, give them a fair shake here. So we've got the Wrecking Crew here. Let's see, open in a new tab. So they're all gonna be rated themselves. I'm gonna be honest. Like these are actual like costumes because these guys have like kind of classic designs. They really never got MCU-ified in my opinion. They might be in the MCU, I have no idea, but at least how they're represented in this game. Bulldozer's got a kind of interesting design. Pile Driver and Thunderbolt, they got like the spandex and the masks going on, kind of like almost like a wrestler vibe. And then Wrecker, I think Wrecker's honestly probably the weakest of the designs, but I actually don't mind these. If you came up with one of like the freaking wrestler lucha libre kind of outfits in a Halloween party, I could see that. I could see that making waves. I think it's probably the top of B tier, right? Like I think there's some pretty decent ones. Kang is interesting. He kind of hits that like sci-fi part of pop culture kind of niche. The problem with the normal Kang is that I honestly don't think normal Kang is that exciting. I'd probably put him right under Zola. The problem is that I feel like a lot of his forms, when you go in that stage 3 and you split up into like Rama Tut and Iron Lad, I feel like a lot of those designs would be like, oh wow, this is like a techno sci-fi guy, but he's in like different time periods and you kind of adapt that. But the normal Kang outfit, it's all right. Drang is pretty interesting. I think because he's this kind of like, he's a Guardians villain. He's kind of like this alien, which I would assume, at least to us humans, his design is pretty strong. He's got like, he's kind of like this alien armor marauder. He's got this armor. He's got the cloak. I think it's a pretty cool, design wise, and I think it works really well to sell it as a Halloween costume. Collector, when it's just normal guys, I guess I'll put him above Norman, but when it's just normal people, this design just doesn't do anything. You're gonna see, I guess that's kind of a trend happening where the less fantastical the design is, or like the more of the body, the less cool I think it'll be. So I don't know. The Collector, he's got like this orb or this chalice thing. I actually don't know what he's holding in this art. I'll be honest. I don't play the scenario that much. But yeah, it's just not doing it for me. So if you're specifically this Collector art where he's kind of like half goop or whatever, sure, I could say that's actually pretty cool. It's got some cool practical effects. I'll just put it up. It should be in D tier. Nebula is interesting. It's very got this humanoid design going on, so I really can't put it much higher, but I'd say it's kind of more interesting than like a Red Skull, right? She's got like actual like tactical armor on, and something like maybe you try and display some of her techniques, or maybe like her her weapons in some aspect, but I can't see it going much higher. So Ronan does have that humanoid thing, but very similar, I would say, to Absorbing Man here. He has like kind of a big focal point in his design, being that the kind of universal weapon. So, and your alien ironclad and kind of like armor. I guess he really isn't that different from Drang now that I think about it, but I think him being all green, whereas like Drang has kind of like the plated armor and he's got like the cloak of different colors. I think him being all green kind of like lowers the design a little bit. But I still think it's strong, and I think the universal weapon does a lot there. This one is almost like a Star Trek character, to my opinion, like the color scheme, the alien. Ebony Maw here. See, he's humanoid. He is an alien, but he's very humanoid, and I don't think he's alien enough. I honestly think he's probably like Kang level, right? He's probably a bit weaker than Zola. I think it's fine. I feel like he just because he's like a spellcaster, he doesn't like I'll have a lot of like focal points of his design for you to actually pick out. So I'll go ahead and put him there. I think on the side note though, Corvus Glaive and Proxima are probably up here in Spooky. These are really cool alien designs. Proxima's got this huge kind of like headpiece. Corvus Glaive has like that cloak, and he has like his weapons, right? Corvus Glaive Marvel Champion. So like I'm pretty sure like there's like really cool parts. Yeah, I mean like he's got like this, these cool weapons and this awesome armor and this cool headpiece. Like this would be a killer Halloween design. I think he has to go probably this might even be at the top. I don't know if I give it over Green Goblin, but this would be a killer design to show up to a Halloween party with. Speaking of killer designs, even without kind of like the MCU bat chest or whatever, like Thanos gotta be up here, right? Like honestly, now if I look at him side by side by kind of like Crossbones, unless you're getting the kind of enormity in his design, you're making like a big mech suit for you to wear. It's kind of very similar to like a Crossbones looking design. He's got like the focal point of the Infinity Gauntlet with the colors, and we can have something that lights up. The purple, him being alien, makes it a bit couple extra points for fitting into the theme of like Halloween and whatnot. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a solid one. Hela is pretty interesting. I think she has a really strong design. I think especially if you go crazy on the crown, the headpiece, it could really turn heads, especially with like having a good cloak and design underneath. But do I think it's necessarily S tier? I think so. It's probably a bit above Drang, right? I think Hela could really sell like a Halloween party, a really solid costume. I think that could be fine. Looking at Loki here, so Loki is kind of like Thanos, but like he's humanoid, right? He does have two focal points, especially in this art with the Infinity Gauntlet. But if we're talking about like just Scepter Loki, I think he's just like a solid Halloween costume. He's probably a bit above like old Rhino, I guess. There's nothing really crazy there. And yeah, then we got the Hood. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna think very highly of the Hood. I mean, if his focal point of his design wasn't just his name, like the Hood, maybe it's higher, but he's kind of just like a human with a red cloak on. He's got like a gun, maybe like a Robin Hood aesthetic. That is kind of like Halloween-ish. I could see him going bottom of B tier, but I'm honestly gonna put him top of C. I just don't really see it on the Hood. Similar story here with Sandman. It's kind of fantastical with the sand element, but I highly doubt that can be represented very well in a costume. Honestly, I think I just put him down here because without Sandman, you're just a guy in a striped shirt and like cargo pants. I really can't see it. Venom, if you go all the way into this like monstrosity, this is definitely an easy S tier. It's probably right here above Taskmaster. If you really lean into the monstrosity and kind of like like huge frame and whatnot for this costume, I think Venom can be really crazy. And even without the pop culture understanding of Spider-Man or Marvel in this hypothetical universe, it could be like, wow, this like alien versus predator type thing as a costume. Very cool, very in the spirit. I got a lot of bias for Mysterio as a design, and I think that will show through here. I don't think it's quite S tier, but I think Mysterio, as far as humanoid shapes go, has a really striking design, especially if you got like a fog machine or something around you. You got the huge fishbowl head. You got the nice cape. The colors are all different, and pointing themselves out in different ways and showing contrast and drawing the eyes to different locations. I think Mysterio has an awesome design, and I think it's kind of obvious it goes there. If we go into the Sinister Six, I can honestly see it really just depends on the Sinister Six member, and because of that, I think maybe next to Rhino, maybe top of B, bottom of A. The problem is there's some like really cool looking designs, like Doc Ock, depending on the iteration, could be cool, but most of the time he's kind of lame. Scorpion, I think, is really cool, but then you have kind of like lamer ones like Craven, which is like, yeah, it's a pretty cool costume if you know the character, but if you're like showing up like I'm a hunter guys from the jungle, it's like, I don't really know. I could see bottom of A tier, top of B for them. They're just such a mixed bag that it's really tough to say more. Venom Goblin is, I don't know. I feel like this is going too far into it. Like it's obviously still in the A tier, but I think it's probably at the bottom. It's very similar to the normal Green Goblin design, but him being Venomized, it doesn't really add much to the design. Honestly, there's not really even a point to rate this. I think I'll just throw it at the end because I know there's a Loki at the end too that I'm probably not gonna rate. Then we're moving on to Sabretooth. So this one's interesting. It's a very humanoid design. You got the little claws on your fingers. It's a very cool looking outfit. So I'd say it definitely gets points among all of these like kind of humanoid ones down in C tier. I could see this being maybe like bottom of B tier. I think that's fine. Sentinel, we got this giant like robot suit mech. Again, this is one really that comes down to the enormity. So let's say Sentinel is like normal size and master mold is the enormous. I don't know. I think there's less cool things you can do with Sentinel, especially normal size. I think it'd go here. If we're saying Master Mode is kind of like this big monstrosity, maybe it's like slightly above Zola. Like, I don't know. I feel like these designs are cool, but they're cool because you're like, oh, they're from the Marvel franchise rather than the designs being super strong on their own. Then we got Brotherhood of Mutants afterwards. So we got Toad, Avalanche, um, is Toad, Avalanche, Pyro, and one last one I'm missing. Toad, Avalanche, Pyro, and the Blob. So Blob is not very striking design. Toad really isn't either, but it does have that fantastical element of the tongue. I think these guys are pretty middling. I could see maybe on a good day they're probably better than Kang overall, but I can't really see them going much higher than that. Magneto, we have to do that without the bias. This is kind of a humanoid guy in a suit of armor, but it's a really cool looking suit of armor, especially if you find a way to employ his magnetism. Maybe you got like some like wireframe things with like chunks of earth that are lighting up or whatnot around you. Like again, I'm giving a lot of leeway here because I do like the Magneto design. I think he can definitely go above Wrecking Crew, but I'd have a hard time placing him much farther above that. It's just kind of like, oh, I'm a guy who controls magnetism, like without the thing of, without really understanding Marvel and having no Marvel knowledge. I think it could do all right. Then we have Magog. Magog here, he's got the fantastical elements. He's kind of like that really thin mohawk. He's got the beard. He's kind of got red skin, which kind of really adds to his design here. He's kind of got this wrestler, macho, like gladiator aesthetic going. Honestly, I could see him being like kind of Wrecking Crew, probably right above these guys. I think that's a fine spot for him. Spiral is really cool, specifically because there's a ton of fantastical elements. You got like the 6 arms, you got kind of like this armor plating going on. You got her swords. I think Spiral's very strong, and I think this is an easy S tier. I think it's kind of like an evolution of maybe Hela, I would say. I think this would be very good if you're like talking Halloween costume design and trying to win. If we're going to Mojo next, this is one that if you get the monstrosity part of him, he has to be S tier, right? But is the design really that strong? Like he's just kind of like a yellow blob. So like all of these have like really cool designs and fantastic elements. I'm not really a big fan of Mojo's design. Honestly, I could see him again if you get his enormity and you get the spider part down. Oh, I didn't think of the spider part. It probably is right here. A bit of my bias. I don't really like Mojo, but the spider part, the stinger tail too. Nah, it probably has to just go up. It's probably up here. If we're really thinking about going all in, the spider body, the stinger tail, the really cybernetic wires coming off his head, it's got to be crazy. So On the Run and Morlock Siege, they use the same ones, the Marauders. Honestly, a lot of the Marauders, I would say, in general, aren't as fantastical. Let me see this. Marauders, Marvel Champions. Let me see if I can find stuff. Yeah, in the next evolution, if I can see them. Honestly, I feel like they are less fantastical than what's it called? I feel like they are less fantastical than even the Sinister Six. So they've just kind of got like they've got cool powers, but their actual outfits just aren't really crazy. Harpoon, Greycrow's really cool. He's kind of like that half, mechanoid body. But the rest they kind of just have like superhero costumes, which are kind of not great. Like even Scorpion and Vulture. Honestly, I think they have more stuff going for them than the Marauders do. Honestly, I'm probably gonna put them kind of down here with a lot of the humanoids. Maybe even here. Honestly, yeah. I honestly thought I was kind of hyping them up in my head before I really looked at them again. And really, it's only Greycrow that I think really has any claim to fame for a Halloween contest, unfortunately. Let's move forward here. Let's go to Juggernaut. So, again, this is kind of a guy in a costume, but we kind of got the wrestling aesthetic going on. If we get the enormity right, I could definitely see him around in the middle of the B tier. If we don't get it right, it definitely goes a bit lower. But that's going to be that. You have Mr. Sinister. It's kind of got this gothic Victorian vampire state going on. He's got this huge cape that kind of like frills out. He's got that huge kind of collar around him too. I think this is a very classic looking Halloween design, and I think probably maybe a bit above Tagmaster is a good spot for him. We go to Strife. Strife is also really cool. He's got this huge like suit of armor and this big billowing cape. I do think he's a bit less cool than a lot of the ones in S tier, but I think it's just costume design wise, it's such a strong visual design that people are gonna look. You're gonna turn heads at that Halloween party for sure. I think we're getting a lot of fantastical designs. I'm seeing a lot of these ones coming up, and yeah, it's kind of crazy. Unis is definitely the sci-fi kind of, apocalypse driven, not to have a pun, but kind of like near future dystopian kind of super soldier look. But I don't think it's super striking. I think maybe we can go like a bit below Ultron here. It's definitely a good costume and it would win a lot. But yeah. Now, speaking of, I was disappointed by the Marauders, but I think the kind of the Four Horsemen specifically definitely have to go up here. We'll probably put them maybe like Mojo level. They are so varied and unique, and you've got like Death, War, Pestilence. There's like, some of them are like Centaur, half Centaur. They got all these like different design elements going on. If you can dress up as even one of those guys, it would be really cool, and I think you'd have a good time. Normal Apocalypse 1, honestly, because Thanos is kind of in this area, I think Apocalypse 1 is a very similar theme design. They don't really look the same, but kind of the concept's kind of like this big hulking mass, and he's got like a big cape, or Apocalypse has a cape, Thanos does not, but there's not like a ton of focal points to draw yourself in, but it is still a really solid design. If someone showed up with this, you're like, man, this is a crazy character to dressed up as. Beast, Dark Beast specifically, might be the most Halloween themed character in the game, and what I mean by that, it's like it's a hero but gone evil, and like Halloween is all about the spooks and the scares and stuff like that. And honestly, I do think that this Dark Beast kind of embodies kind of that Halloween spirit, the trickster, kind of turning evil and whatnot. But it is still kind of just like you're kind of like in an animal costume with a lab coat on. Like how far does that actually go? It's probably at the bottom of the S tier, but I think it has to go up there because it's a very Halloween costume in my opinion. Then we're going on to Apocalypse and Sabanur, and because this one has, in some iterations, has more influences that aren't just like, giant alien guy in a suit of armor, he's probably like above Thanos. Again, this is very close together. I still don't think he goes quite into the S tier, but it is what it is. Now we move on to Batroc, and this is another human design. He does have a cool kind of outfit going on, but it's really not much more than that. It's probably right at the end of the humanoids here. It is a costume for sure. Honestly, we could probably put him above the hood because the hood doesn't really look like a costume. Batroc's kind of does, which gives him a little extra points. But I don't think that brings him up in a B tier. We go on to Citizen V, any of the Thunderbolts. Most of the Thunderbolts, from what I understand, they have very classic looking superhero designs. But this one is kind of like topical. You like Citizen V, you're like a American sponsored soldier. That's kind of like an interesting take, other than these guys who are just kind of wearing suits. He does have a cool design. He's got like the sword, right? So I could see him, maybe going above. Let's say he goes above Absorbing Man here. MODOK is really interesting again because it's kind of like a Zolo situation in a way, but I think it's more interesting. I think MODOK has a lot of room to have a really fun and cool design, but it's really hard to kind of display that in a normal human body to get his design down. I wonder how they would do it. Maybe they're just in a big inflatable or something. I think it could be really cool if a lot of thought was put into it. Black Widow, this one is not doing it for me. It's just a humanoid, but there's not really any costume. It's kind of like a spy, right? Okay, that's like a classic costume, but look at all the ones above. These are super fantastical, super out there. A spy, I mean, this feels kind of like Nebula-ish tier, right? Like, we'll just put her there. A lot of bias for Baron Zemo again, but if we think about him, he kind of has a cool looking design and a cool looking costume going on, but I don't necessarily think that he does have his sword, which is a fantastical element that a lot of these people don't have. I think that brings him up enough. I think I can put Baron Zemo maybe above Sabretooth. The sword really does, you're kind of like this agent of the state. Very similar vibes to Citizen V, and I put him in B tier, so I will put Baron Zemo there as well. Finally, we have Enchantress. I feel like this is a very classic Halloween type of costume. It's just like she's a wizard, she's a sorcerer, right? She is humanoid, but like we have Rhino is like a animal. I mean, I think it's a classic costume. I think there's enough fantastical elements to it that aren't just like a cloak. You can do cool stuff with it. How high would I put it up? I mean, maybe it's a bit more interesting than Ebony Maw. They're both kind of sorcerers, but even though he's like an alien sorcerer, his design's kind of weaker in my opinion. I think this is where I'm gonna leave it. I tried not to make it like an hour like the last one was. I was really going in depth on whatever the heck Halloween spirit meant that I don't even remember here a year later. But man, these milestones are awesome. Thank you guys so much for enjoying the channel. If you've watched it this far, you really must have had nothing to do, and I appreciate you spending your time with me and listening to me ramble about basically nonsense. I hope you guys have a good Halloween if you celebrate, and if you don't, I hope you guys have a good Friday. Let me know what you guys think about my tier list. Or am I completely off base on no, this one will 100% win the costume contest, or yeah, or you disagree and you're like, this is way too high, needs to go lower, this is way too low, needs to go higher, or you agree, you're like, your list is perfect and I agree with you on every single step of the way. Either way, leave it down in the comment section down below. That's gonna be it for me. I'm gonna go ahead and head over to my parents' house and have a fun time just handing out candy to trick-or-treaters, spending time with my family tonight. So I hope you guys have a good one yourselves. Maybe we'll come back next year with a different tier list or something else. I don't really know what I'd do at that point, but that's a problem for a year from now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for chilling. Thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one. Goodbye.